Hey guys, welcome to the channel. As you see in the thumbnail, what if Issei Reincarnated as Powerful Vampire Part 1. Before I start, please do support for more awesome content and subscribe my channel and like this video, and also go support the EmperorNox for writing that awesome fanfic. Let's start this video. A young boy with brown hair and eyes sighed as he opened his eyes. The boy, known to most as Issei Reincarnated, stood reaching under his bed pulling out a bag as he left the room he was put in. No more than 3 hours ago he and his parents had been caught in a car crash, at least it was what the humans believed. Issei let out an amused chuckle. Humans believed many things, but he'd seen the event for what it was, and skirmished between the Christian church and the devils. A devil had been attacked, and his comrades fought to protect him. The exorcists, believing they were in the right to kill devils, attacked on sight, and in the skirmish Issei had glimpsed a demonic spellfly. Then he saw the unusually familiar bat-like wings of the devils, and before he blacked out, he saw a clash of a light and demonic power. He awoke with memories of his past, who he truly was. As 14 black devil wings spread from the boy's back, he let out a smile of both happiness at his revelation and sadness at the deaths that happened to those who had raised him for 6 full years. Shaking his head, he had a single thought: Satan is back for another round. He chuckled. And he's not alone. A rough draconic voice added in his mind. A year later, Issei ducked into another alleyway as the man that he'd conned tried to find him. He'd become a successful con man in the time he'd spent running from the humans that wanted him in an orphanage. He'd made a sizable amount of money from his adventures, all of which he added to his fun in a personal pocket dimension. He was currently wondering what to do next, as he'd only begun this because he felt the need to find somewhere influential. As he turned a corner, he ducked behind cover as he found himself watching a group of devils and a group of vampires fighting. "You're entertained?" a familiar voice asked. "Huh?" Issei turned and was met with a visage of a girl appearing to be a similar age to his vessel's own. She had porcelain-like skin, a doll-like face, white hair and crimson eyes. She wore a small black dress and was barefoot for some odd reason. "Are you entertained by this scuffle?" she asked in a voice void of emotion, and said scuffle as if she hated to overstate what it was. "I'm not sure," Issei informed his mind, finally recognizing the girl, who was in a form he rarely saw when they had last seen each other. "If you are unsatisfied, I could eradicate them," she said, her eyes gaining a small glow and fangs were now more noticeable as she spoke. "That won't be necessary, Lucia," Issei ordered, which to most would seem comical, that he spoke to her as if he was a king ordering a servant. "Very well, master, do you wish to watch? Do you want refreshments? I could obtain food or drink for you," the female vampire asked him, gaining a nervous posture. "That will not be necessary, Lucia, do tell why you chose to use that form," Issei asked. "It allowed me to gain clues to your whereabouts," she answered. "She hasn't changed, but I guess having only one objective in your life must give her a narrow chance for change." Issei sighed internally. The two sat there as Issei watched the battle, eventually seeing the vampires retreat before they could be defeated. "What do you wish to do, master?" she asked when the vampires were out of sight. "Please take an older form, I wish to have some fun," Issei smirked. "Transform," she said. Her body was engulfed in shadows, and when they receded in their place was a girl in her mid-20s. "Now follow me," Issei said as he walked toward the celebrating devils. "Well done, excellent show," Issei said, clapping slowly as he and the vampire girl, Lucia, emerged from the shadows. "Huh? A kid?" one asked. "What?" another vampire. The entire group immediately went on edge. It was a group of 5. The leader was a teen with black hair and gray eyes. He wore a red button-up shirt, blue jeans and boots, with a sword at his side. Beside him was a teen with blue hair and violet eyes wearing a black t-shirt, jeans, black leather boots, and a black leather jacket. He also wore gloves with studs on his knuckles. With them was another teen, this one female, had brown hair and blue eyes wearing a skin-tight bodysuit with a sword at her side. The fourth was another female teen with silver hair and blue eyes. She wore a white kimono, and atop her head was a pair of wolf ears, the same color as her hair, and a wolf tail of the same color waved behind her. The last was another teen with black hair and eyes. He wore a simple white t-shirt, blue jeans, some simple shoes, and carried a wooden staff with blades on either side. "Who are you and what are you doing with a vampire?" the leader asked, drawing his blade. "I've got quite a few names and titles, sadly in my diminutive form, I have yet to truly reach the point I used to be at. You may call me Issei," the young appearing boy said. "And the vampire?" the man in the leather jacket asked. Instead of speaking, she simply shifted her dress, and soon part of her breast, which Issei offhandedly noticed, were back to the size he remembered them to normally be, and there rested a devil family's crest. In the center of a magic circle was black flame behind a gothic S. "That symbol," the leader said, looking between Issei and Lucia, panicked. "If you are worried about me attacking you, I cannot act without master's permission," Lucia stated. "Master?" the women asked in unison, looking to Issei. "So, who are you, young devil?" Issei asked, internally laughing at the leader's expression. "Sirius Valak," he answered. I see, very well, I'll be watching out to see how you turn out, you're a promising one. Issei then turned. Lucia, we're going to meet an old friend. Issei ordered, and as he began walking, Lucia gave the young devil peerage a motionless look which caused them to tense and turned to follow Issei. 3 years later, Issei, now appearing to be around 9 years old, stood outside a facility run by the church with Lucia at his side, as she had been for the entirety of the last 3 years. Entering silently, the duo snuck through the building and found their target, opening the door to a room of children from the ages ranging of 8 to 15. Issei, with his red t-shirt, black pants, red shoes, and the black cloak he wore, would have made him intimidating had he been older and thus taller, but Lucia's gaze made a few of them shiver as they saw her gaze, however brief, on them. Like him, she had changed her attire to her original outfit she had before, a all-black gothic dress that had a star-shaped gap in the middle of her chest, and long black sleeves, each attached to her upper arm via a belt. Her thighs were visible due to the dress stopping short of her stomach, and several belts were strapped between her ankle and hips, accompanied by a pair of black boots. These are the master, I sense few sacred gear users however. She said. It doesn't matter, they wouldn't be able to use them anyway. Listen up. You've all been deemed failures in this project, and the church has decided you aren't needed. We're going to be freeing you, the elder members of this group. I want you all to grab a younger member and run. Issei ordered, yelling the announcement to make sure all of them heard. Suddenly the two heard a yell, they're escaping. The eyes of the children widened and Issei let her curse Lucia give them an escape route, then go and stall the church, even if you have to kill those that stop you. Lucia nodded silently, and with a wave of her hand the wall behind the children blew open. Seeing the two were actually trying to help, the children began running, the older ones helping the younger as they slipped away, all splitting up into groups. Lucia turned just as the guards returned, and they took a step back as they came face to face with glowing crimson eyes and glinting fangs. The vampire, one of them yelled, rushing forward with a blade of light. She did nothing except grimace as the blade stabbed her, and the glowing died down and darkened. Then without hesitation she sank her fangs into him, and when she released him he was a husk. She had a smile on her face and blood on her cheek, and some dripping from her fangs. The other exorcists stare as she pulled the blade from her body, and the wound slowly closed up. That stung. She stated, gripping the hilt and leveling it at the other men. Die. She stated, and in seconds each was stabbed through the chest and fell to the ground. However, more only took their place. Meanwhile, Issei was wielding 2 swords made out of shadows as he fought wildly. But even with Lucia's speed and their power, some of the church members got after the children. Lucia, we've done all we can here, let's go and try to help a few of the children. Issei ordered, and after fighting his way to her as she dropped another drained husk of a man, he grabbed her arm, and the two were engulfed in shadows. They reappeared in the forest and ran after the children. Soon they found the bodies of many dead children, however there was one child still living among them. It was then Issei noticed the bodies of the church staff among them as well. She was around 9 with chestnut hair tied in a low ponytail and violet eyes. She wore a tattered white dress and was covering herself in the warm clothes of the exorcists. She held a light sword that was covered in blood, and she stared at it in shock. Issei knelt over the nearest exorcist body and began checking for items that could be helpful, growling to himself. Lucia looked over everything and looked down. I'm sorry, master, what are you on about, Lucia? Issei asked as he began checking another body, both giving the girl a wide berth, however she was watching curious. You wanted to save them, and I failed to give them enough time to get away. I failed you and disobeyed your orders. Lucia said, clenching her eyes shut as if waiting for him to punish her. Nonsense, we did what we could. If anything, it is my fault since I am weak at the moment. Now, I want you to give these children proper burials. He said, and then as an afterthought, and the exorcists as well. Then he turned to the curious girl. Hello Milady, I am Issei Haidu, and you are? Issei asked with a low bow. Irina Shidu. She answered, blushing. So orphan or volunteered? Issei asked, and she looked down. My daddy was asked that I participate, and he allowed it with the condition he could pull me out if he felt I was in danger. She answered. I see, would you like to go home? Issei asked as Lucia began picking up bodies, her clothing covered in blood. Yes, but how? She asked. I'm a powerful person, Milady, think of me as a guardian. Issei informed. An angel? She asked. No. Issei said simply. The devil? She asked, this time tensing. Of a sort, I Milde am a form of balance. If there is light, there must also be a dark. I simply maintain my side of the balance, making it easier on the god from the Bible. I'm a, shall we say, partner to him. Issei informed. It has been 8 years since their attempt to save those children and their subsequent rescue of Irina Shidu. They'd taken her to her home and left as she reached the door. They spent some time helping others and gaining a foothold in the supernatural world until Issei found himself bored, and within the week they'd set themselves up with a mansion in Kuo Town with everything being of high, almost UNNATURAL, or as it really was the case, supernatural quality. After setting up their home at 15, they entered the formerly all-girls school, Kuo Academy, for their first year in high school. Cementing themselves into the school and rising in popularity almost overnight, it became known that Issei Hayadu was a rich boy who was sitting pretty on his family's money, and that the newest member of Kuo's great ladies, alongside Ria's Gremory and Akeno Himejima, that the duo had immediately noticed were devils, Lucia Valentine, his German friend and fellow rich kid. Issei gained a title, King of Kuo Academy, alongside Yudo Kiba's Prince of Kuo Academy. As the two hid, they made sure Issei seemed human, going as far as to hide his aura and non-human traits. However, Lucia refused to hide her vampiric traits, and feeling that ordering her to hide them would be cruel, he decided that she could leave it as long as she could hide her power and her aura and make it similar to a damper. Seeing this as agreeable, she did so. After a peaceful year with old looks towards Issei and suspicious looks toward Lucia from the devils, it wasn't long before they were found out. At the beginning of their second year, they were approached by Aika Kuryu. Seeing the traits on Lucia and noticing the lack of blood drinking on other students, she got curious as Issei didn't seem to be losing any blood, so she'd cornered them. Flashback. Okay, I know she's a vampire and she hasn't drank anyone's blood, and if she drinks yours it doesn't show. If that is the case, then you aren't human if you alone sate the hunger of a vampire as powerful as her. Aika said, cornering them in a janitor's closet. After making sure they hadn't and couldn't be hurt, Issei smirked. Yes, I'm not a human, in fact I'm a devil, and Lucia is a damfer. He was cut off by the brunette. She can't be a damfer because damfer are half human and neither of you are human, I can feel it. She said. Could it be? Issei wondered. Very well, however, if we answer who we truly are, you're going to have to do something for us. Issei said. And what is that? She asked. Well, that depends on how far you want this to go. What do you desire most? Issei asked the same question he'd asked many others. I want to live my life with a bit of excitement, maybe a bit of mischief, and most of all, I want to end up in my life where I can be peaceful and live comfortably. She answered after some thought. Very well then, I can give you two choices if you want us to tell you exactly who we are. You can become a devil and get more of the excitement, or a vampire and get more of the mischief. Issei said. She momentarily looked surprised, then the surprise was replaced by suspicion. And what do you get out of this? What's the catch? She asked. You possess something that just may be useful to me, I only ask you work with us. She said. But they're for you? She asked. Both. Issei smirked. Okay, I'll bite. Why do you want me to choose? She asked. Well, I honestly want to know, do you prefer excitement or mischief? With becoming a devil working with me, you'll get your excitement as I'll need some strong employees, and those employees will need some jobs, which could be fun if you think they are, and with becoming a vampire, you'll work with Lucia and basically you'll be working more on the wordplay and otherwise causing problems for our enemies. Issei explained. She seemed to think on this and smirked. Fine, I'll choose both. She said, causing Issei to smirk. Then do we have a deal? Issei asked. Deal? They shook hands and a black magic circle appeared on her arm briefly before disappearing. Huh? She asked. Since I can't make you a devil yet, this will make sure you don't back out of our deal, and I cannot do so either simply because then I gain nothing from it. Now before you're made a vampire we should explain who Lucia and I are. Issei began. Flashback end. Aika had come out with her eyes temporarily crimson, her skin paler, her face had a more doll-like look to it, and her fangs had grown instantly. The duo noticed the devils now keeping an eye on Aika as well. She joined them in their home not 2 days later. After some time, fallen angels moved into town and then they approached and killed a boy, Toshiro Kurosaki. The boy was saved from death by Ria's Gremory. As the duo watched him begin his life as a devil, they noticed the fallen angels were making their move. It was when they met Asia Argento and helped her and learned after she tried saving Toshiro that the fallen angels were going to take her sacred gear. Do I go and eradicate them now, Meister? She asked, adding master in German since they were regularly in public and she could pass it off as a nickname to their classmates. No, stop them and bring Asia and whoever leads these crows to me. Issei ordered. Yes, Meister. She said, and in a blur of speed she disappears. Meanwhile, Laika sat in her room reading inappropriate magazines. Meanwhile, Toshiro Kurosaki and his fellow devils of Ria's Gremory's peerage were running to save the girl who had tried to save him, and the abandoned church was in sight. Toshiro was a second year of Kuo Academy with spiky white hair and turquoise eyes. He wore the Kuo Academy male uniform with a white t-shirt under his open blazer, an open button-up shirt. With him was Yudo Kiba with short blonde hair, grey eyes and a mole under his left eye. He wore the Kuo uniform as well, but his shirt and jacket were buttoned up. The last member of their group was Kaneko Taoju, who was a petite girl with white hair and hazel eyes. The front of her hair had 2 long bangs going past her shoulders and several loose bangs hanging over her forehead, while the back had a short bob cut. She also wore a black cat-shaped hair clip on both sides of her hair. She usually wore the Kuo Academy girls' school uniform without the shoulder cape. They soon arrived at the doors, and Kaneko was quick to kick them down. In the main room they were met by the insane silver-haired priest Fried Selzen, who had been at a client's house and killed them before Toshiro had arrived and tried to kill him, prompting Asia to help him, seeing his human personality tried to save him, prompting this mission as they soon found out they were going to take her sacred gear. As Fried spoke his insane speech about devils and how he never had to face the same devil twice, however Toshiro couldn't help but notice the bat which was perched atop, which in its own was confusing, a pew seemingly staring at the group. As the battle began to reach its peak, a blur of white shot past the group, throwing Fried into the wall with the force alone, ripping away a covering to a hidden room and disappearing down into the basement. Fried got up shakily and clipped an object from his jacket, throwing it down, caused it to explode in blinding light, and he was gone. Toshiro, looking around, noticed the bat was now frenzied, flying around as if in panic. "Let's go after that blur," Toshiro said, and the trio ran after the blur of white. When they began their trek down, however, they froze momentarily as immense pressure came down upon them. Powering through it, however, only got them a few steps further. No. 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 It's a monster. Please God save us. Run for your lives. I don't want to die. The fearful screams of many men were heard. The group arrived to see their classmate Lucia Valentine, the lower half of her face covered with blood, her eyes glowing like beacons of red, her porcelain skin and doll-like features only adding to the horror of the image. The stray exorcist seemed to be trying to run away as she moved as if by teleportation to each, and within seconds, they fell either husks or bleeding profusely from deep wounds and missing limbs. On the ground before a cross laid the body of Asia, seemingly dead, and the group saw the lead fallen angel trying in vain to regather her forces. When the last exorcist fell, the fallen angel, who Toshiro noticed was the one that tried to kill him, tried to make a run for it, only for Lucia to grab her arm, standing tall in midair. "I'm sorry, but I can't allow you to leave," she stated, her voice void of emotion as she grabbed the hand in her grasp tightly and threw the fallen angel into the cross. "But first, I must fix your stupidity," she said. "But there's no way. She's already dead," the fallen angel cried in fear. This way she continued as if she hadn't heard. "It's impossible for anyone without a form of reincarnation and her sacred gear to bring her back," the fallen angel yelled. "Ray." She finished, and suddenly the silver rings from the fallen angel's hands ripped off the fallen angel and sunk into the blonde nun's skin, and within moments her eyes fluttered open. "Lucia, you're bleeding," she yelled, jumping up. "It is not mine, however my Meister asked me to come get you and the fallen angel. Please come with me," she said. "Issei?" she asked. Lucia nodded, grabbing the fallen angel. "Okay, are you sure you're not hurt?" Asia asked. "Asia, nothing these trash could ever do to me would cause me any lasting damage," she said cryptically and sighed. "Now get on my back, please," Lucia ordered. Asia, confused, did so, and with her grip on the fallen angel, she shot off once again a blur. "What was that?" Toshiro asked in confusion. "This Valentine is a Damper, a half-vampire that we believe is under the control of Issei Haidu, though how he controls her we are unsure, but she hasn't drank the blood of anyone in town, and if she drinks blood from Mr. Haidu, he doesn't show any signs of it. However, she has turned Ika Kiryu into a vampire as well. We don't know how she did this either," Yudo explained. "The vampire, huh?" Toshiro said. "Later, but job, Lucia," Issei complimented, causing the vampire to beam in pride. "Now, what to do with you, fallen one?" Issei said, chuckling, looking at the fallen angel woman in question, who was magically restrained. If one listened hard enough, a shower could be faintly heard. The fallen angel remained silent, fearful of his verdict, which most likely would be enacted by the vampire. Unlike the devils, she could tell they were only hiding their power. As a mistress of disguise, she could easily see that fact, but the hidden power made Rainer fear them greatly. "Ah. Since you saw fit to take Asia's life, she now owns yours," Issei decided. "What?" she cried as he put his hand to her shoulder, and his symbol appearing on her shoulder, and the former Gothic S was replaced by a Gothic A. "Your life now belongs to Asia," Issei informed. "You can't do this," she cried. "I think you'll find that I can, and I have. It is only fair after all," he informed. "Lucia, how about taking her to her room and make sure Asia knows where hers is?" Issei ordered. "Ja, Meister," she said in affirmative and began pushing the fallen angel to her designated room. Asia's paw. I smiled as I exited the shower, thankful that Issei and Lucia were kind enough to let me use it and were letting me stay. Is this what having friends is like? I asked myself. Then a knock sounded at the door. Asia. Meister has ordered me to show you to your room when you're finished. I've already laid out clothing for you to wear until yours are cleaned," Lucia informed. I covered myself in a towel and opened the door. "Thank you, Miss Lucia," I said, smiling. She nodded and began walking, looking back to make sure I was following. Soon we arrived at a comfortable looking room with a comfy queen-sized bed on which sat a nice baby blue nightgown and a uniform similar to the one Lucia wore, except for Lucia's jacket over it. "Miss Lucia, I have some questions," I asked, waiting for her reply. "Yes." Lucia seemed happy to answer my questions. "You and Issei aren't human, correct? If so, what are you?" I asked. "I am a vampire, Dame Asia, not a normal one, but a vampire nonetheless." "Meister, however," she said, trailing off. "Issei?" I asked. "It is best he tells you himself." "Any others?" she asked. "You call Issei your master, why?" I asked. "That's what he is. Dame Asia, he is my meister and I couldn't ask for a better one," she said happily. "How is he your master exactly?" I inquired. "Because when my Shopper created me, he created me specifically to be the perfect servant for Meister," Lucia explained. "That's all I can think of for now," I informed. "Very well, I'll leave you to your devices now, Dame Asia." With that, she left the room and I laid down on my bed. "Issei's pav." I smiled when Lucia came back into the living room. "Asia settle in well?" I asked. "Yes, Meister, she had some questions, but I answered them to the best of my abilities," Lucia replied. "Questions?" I asked. She then explained the questions she was asked and her answers. "Good, I'll talk to her about who I am over breakfast tomorrow. I'll inform her of Miss Rainer's punishment as well," I decided. Over the next day, Asia and Rainer came to reach a safe place among the other students of Kuo after having them enrolled overnight. It was after the last class of the day that an uproar caused by the entrance of Yudo Kiba that Issei knew Ria's Gremory was suspicious as Kiba and Kurosaki stopped in front of their group. "Ria's Gremory, our club president wants to speak with you, could you come with us please?" Kiba asked. "Fine." Issei sighed and they were led out of the school building with Kurosaki warily watching Rainer, which, if he was honest, Issei understood. They were led into the occult research clubroom, which, in itself, was nice, and behind a Victorian-style desk sat a beautiful young woman who appeared to be in her late teens with milky skin, blue eyes and a buxom figure. Her most distinctive feature was her long beautiful crimson hair that reached down to her thighs, with a hook sticking out from the top. Her hair also had loose bangs covering her forehead and side bangs framing her face. She wore the Kuo Academy girls' school uniform, which consisted of a white long-sleeved button-down shirt with a black ribbon on her shirt collar, worn under a black shoulder cape and a matching button-down corset, a magenta skirt with white accents, and brown dress shoes over white crew-length socks. Beside her was a beautiful young woman with a voluptuous figure around the same age as Ria's, with very long black hair and violet eyes. Her hair is usually tied in a long ponytail, reaching all the way down to her legs, with two strands sticking out from the top and sloping backwards, with an orange ribbon keeping it in place. She wore the Kuo Academy girls' school uniform, along with black knee-high socks. These were Ria's Gremory, a member of the Gremory Devil clan, and Akeno Himejima, her queen. "Hello, I'm Ria's Gremory, but you already knew that, so Issei Haidu and Lucia Alice Valentine, let's begin this with you two. We've been gracious to let you and this vampire stay in my territory, and when you turned a student into a vampire we let it slide, but now you've been given too much free rein. Who are you both, really?" Ria's asked. "Well, Miss Gremory, I'm a man of many talents, a smooth politician, a powerful fighter, and a powerful devil, but most of all, I'm not a human, I'm not an angel or fallen angel, I'm not a monster or yokai, and I'm not a dragon, but I'm not a normal devil, I'm not a super devil, like your brother either," Issei informed. "Then what are you?" Ria's asked. "The one and only devil god, of course," Issei said. "You're saying you are Satan?" she asked skeptically. "I am, and I can prove it," he said happily. "How?" Ria's asked. "But this," Issei informed and reached out his hand, disappearing, and when he pulled out a set of golden armor. "These belonged to the original Lucifer." He then pulled out an apple, but this wasn't any normal apple, it was golden, an apple of Eden. With that he reached in a final time and pulled out a black broadsword with silver, Gothic crossguard with Satan, devil god inscribed in the hilt, my sword. The group, including Asia and Rainer, minus Lucia, stared in surprise. Just as it was described, Ria said. "What about Miss Valentine?" she asked, regaining her composure. "I am not a normal vampire, of course, in reality normal vampires can't make other people into vampires, I am special, I am a Shinso vampire, the first vampire and servant of Satan," she informed. "Servant? Why?" she asked, confused. "Shinso vampires are the first vampires created and bound to a being's life force, and to serve them," Lucia explained. "How many of you are there?" Akeno asked. "3 as far as I know, unless my shopper made more and I wasn't told," she informed. "Their creator?" Akeno asked. "Yes, I am a being created by the god from the Bible to serve my meister," she answered. "And what are your feelings about the job you were given?" Kiba asked. "I am happy with my place in life, meister is kind to me, and I live a life that gives me purpose, I have no idea what else I could do really," she answered, smiling for the first time since entering the room. "Do you know the other two?" Riaz asked. Of course I know my Schwestern. She said. Your sisters? Asia asked. Yes, but that is beside the point, we should be getting home, Meister. Lucia informed, looking to a clock on the wall. Yes, how about this, Gremory, you leave me to my devices and tell no one of my existence, and I'll do you a favor of your choosing. Issei informed. Why yes. She stammered, immediately flustered. Never did I even dream of having a favor from Satan himself. The crimson-haired heiress thought. The next week passed without incident, and Issei and his group, including Aika, were added to the occult research club in case they needed a way to get out of class, and Riaz and her peerage learned the delights of Lucia's cooking and Issei's teaching Asia of the truth behind the three factions, his friendship and partnership with God, who they learned took a female form when they were younger, though not even he was sure if that was just preference or the actual gender. This went unimpeded until Issei's group arrived with ice cream cake one day, hoping to share and perhaps learn a bit more about the evil PIECES, more for Issei's sake than any others. They stopped outside the door when they felt two more demonic presences than usual, and neither were familiar. Instead of maintaining his cover, he decided, why not, and opened the door. The Orias, we're here. Lucia took more time with today's treat. Issei informed, walking in and setting down one of the cakes they'd brought. You interrupted our meeting for cake. A blonde boy in a burgundy blazer with gold embroidery on the right with matching pants and black dress shoes. Underneath his open blazer was a white dress shirt that was not fully buttoned, just one button short, giving a slight view to his chest. Oh, Phoenix, nice little birdie, do be quiet or I'll throw a blanket over you. Issei said in fake kindness as he moved on to the other unfamiliar devil in the room, a beautiful woman appearing to be in her early 20s, with silver hair and matching eyes. Her hair, which flowed all the way down to her back, featured a long braid on each side with small blue bows at the ends, while the rest was let down, ending in twin braids. She wore a blue and white French-made outfit with long sleeves and a white-made headband over her head, with red lipstick as a cosmetic accessory. Hello Milady, we haven't met before, my name is Issei Haidu, a simple wandering devil, what might your name be? Issei asked, kissing her hand. She blinked. I am Graphia Lucifuge, queen of Surzich's Lucifer. Ah. Issei said in acknowledgement. Boy. Don't ignore me, you peasant. The Phoenix devil yelled, sending a fireball at Issei. Issei looked at the fireball and, to everyone's surprise, caught it. I've seen better from you, clan. I must say though, you are quite sloppy, overconfident perhaps. Issei asked. Issei, meet Razor Phoenix, a member of the Phoenix and unfortunately my fiancé. Riaz informed. Do you remember that favor I owe you? Issei hinted. Huh? Riaz asked herself internally, then he processes what he said. Does he mean to reveal himself? Very well, I wish to have my arranged marriage resolved, and if you make that happen, I'll consider the favor paid. Riaz said, smirking. What are you suggesting, Riaz? Razor asked. Razor Phoenix, I challenge you, and with the permission of Surzich's Lucifer and Lord Gremory or Lord and Lady Phoenix, if possible, to have a wager of sorts. Issei said, turning to Graphia. Very well, I'll speak with Lord Lucifer, Lord Gremory, Lord Phoenix, and Lady Phoenix. Graphia informed, and after 30 minutes she had gone and spoken with the four and come back. Lord Phoenix, Lord Lucifer, and Lord Gremory are interested. You have permission. What is this wager? Graphia asked. I will send forward one servant, and if Razor loses, the marriage is dissolved, and in return for my services, I want a set of evil pieces. However, if he wins, he can choose one of my servants, and they belong to him. Issei informed. You, a peasant, have servants? Razor asked. I have servants, my equivalent to a queen, Lucia, my equivalent to a rook, Aika, and my equivalent to a bishop, Asia. Issei informed, indicating the three. Ah, I agree to your terms. Razor said cockily. Another conversation with the interested parties and Graphia returned. It is agreeable that should you win you get what you ask for, but what keeps you from backing out? Graphia asked. Surzich's is suspicious of me, huh? Issei asked. Very well, since I won't be sending Asia to fight, she will wait with Lucifer, and until the victor is decided and the winner gets his prize, she will be in his care. Is that agreeable to you, Asia? I understand, Issei, I'll agree. Asia said, surprised. Graphia nodded. An hour later, Razor stood waiting in an arena for Issei to choose who to fight him. Surzich's stood beside him, having just told Issei to choose. Lucia, make me proud. Issei ordered. Of course, Meister, I will not lose. She said. Aika, you might want to watch closely, this is a level you might reach eventually. Issei whispered as the battle was being announced. Begin. Graphia's voice over the intercom announced. Meanwhile, Ria sat in one of the observation rooms, hoping and praying to Satan, who she had ironically trusted to fight this battle, that she was right to trust Issei. As soon as begin was announced, Riser threw a fireball, testing Lucia's strength. She boredly knocked it away without effort. Sending another, this time stronger, he found this to be just as effective. Do you wish to begin now? Lucia asked Border. Is that all you have to offer? Don't mock me. Razor yelled, rushing forward and sending a fire-covered fist at her head. It made contact, but none of the spectators nor Razor could see any reaction, not even a blink. Surprised, he stepped a few feet away. A pity, I believe it is my turn now. Lucia said and rushed forward. In an instant she stood with her fist in front of his face, and a shock wave sent him flying into the side of the arena. HMPH, I think you deserve more than that. Lucia said, her eyes darkening. She waved her hand, and Razor went flying into another arena wall, leaving an indentation in the wall. Not enough. Lucia stated, taking one step back, waiting. Razor stood and growled. He rushed forward and began a barrage of quick flame-covered punches at her. She stood still, showing no sign of damage. Blood, Shanton. Lucia said, and Razor blinked when he found a gun pointed in his face. Bang. She stated, and a bullet went straight through his head, causing him to step back and wait to heal. He looked at the weapon that had just harmed him. It was a pistol which she had two almost identical copies of. It was a pistol with gold engraving on its grip and barrel. On its frame was a triangular attachment that bore a Gothic B on one and a Gothic S on the other. From each grip came two white tassels. Guns? Razor wondered aloud. Orichalcum guns made specifically to use magic bullets, shadow bullets. She said and began shooting Razor. Surprised, Razor tried to dodge, but Lucia simply moved with him and he began being peppered with holes. She soon stopped and waited for him to regenerate, and the two guns dissipated into shadows. Why get rid of them? Razor asked. I don't need them, however, I'll give you a chance. Razor Phoenix, hit me with your best shot. Lucia said. Growling, Razor summoned a ball of flames into his hands and threw it at Laughed and let the ball begin to dissipate, thinking he'd put enough into the attack to damage her. When he could see her, his eyes widened as her wounds regenerated. What? He yelled and threw several more giant balls of fire. Razor Phoenix, I've played this game long enough. I think it is time I stop holding back. I'm annoyed by weakening my body to make this interesting. I thought it might entertain Meister more to see you acting confident in the face of certain defeat. However, I've decided to fully enact punishment on you. No more games. She growled, walking from the flames completely unharmed, not even regenerating, just not taking damage. Aim? Punishment? Razor asked. Yes, this is a farce of a battle. I am demeaning myself to even show fake damage, simply to see if Meister finds your ignorance more entertaining. However, your words still deserve punishment. Earlier you sullied Meister's name with your ignorance, and I cannot allow that to continue, nor can I ignore your former words. For your impudence, the punishment. She paused in her movement. Is the wrath of a Shinso vampire, she growled, rushing forward even faster than before. When in range she punched, sending Razor flying. Instead of letting him hit the wall, she rushed in the way of his flight and punched him in the stomach, causing spittle and blood to fly through the air and a resounding crack to fill the arena. Giving him no time to recover, she began barraging him with punches, causing more cracks to sound. Bruises began appearing and blood after it, only to be replaced by more as he regenerated. Meanwhile, in the booth with Surziches, Lord Gremory, Graphia, Lord and Lady Phoenix, and Asia, Lady Phoenix watched in horror as her son being beaten around like a rag doll. Gruesome, I must say, but one must wonder who is he to have her feel for him so. Lord Gremory asked. Yes, though what she said, she couldn't really be a Shinso like in Zekrom Bale's books. There were only 3 known Shinso, and each had a master they followed. Lord Phoenix said, curious. Suddenly all eyes turned as Issei entered the room. She truly is a Shinso. I'm sure you must have realized by now who I am. Surzich's Lucifer. After all, you took my son's name rather well. Of course you fit better with a leading title than that dunderhead. Issei said with a disappointed look. What does he mean, Surziches? Lord Gremory asked. You're Satan, aren't you? Surziches asked. Yes, I am. I can prove it the way I did to your sister, or I could prove it in a better way. Issei said, laughing. Prove it then. Surziches said. But that 14 devil wings spread from his back. The 14 wings of the Monarch of Darkness, wings that spread fear in the enemies and brought down many an army with their sight alone. Surzich said, seemingly quoting. Yes, I know of your own mutation, shall we say, and I'm proud that a member of my race achieved it. Issei said. Why are you here? What is it you really want? Lord Gremory asked. Me, I merely want some evil pieces. I can leave running the underworld to the 4 that have done it for so long. However, just as the Bale could override your decisions, I override theirs. Issei smirked. So, you're saying, your final say if we want to deal with Zekrom or Lord Bale, and they try to override us? Surziches asked. Yes. He replied. Please stop this. Lady Phoenix pleaded, watching as her son's regeneration began to slow. One of us needs to surrender for our fighter, one of you for Razor or me for Lucia. Issei said quickly. I surrender for Razor, just stop her. The blonde woman yelled, and by now Razor was barely standing, bones visible through his legs. One of his ribs was coming out of his stomach, and his arm was bent in an unnatural angle. Issei, as soon as the magic barrier around the arena dropped, jumped down while gliding over and stood tall, his eyes turning black as he spoke commandingly. Lucia, stop this instant. His voice had a strange echo to it, and the mark she carried pridefully began to glow with an impossible black light through her blood-stained clothing, and she fell to the ground writhing in pain, not even able to release what could only be a blood-curdling scream. After a few moments of this the glow faded, and Lucia was panting, and turned to where Issei was but didn't raise her gaze from his feet. Meister I she began only for him to cut her off. White. You've gone too far Lucia, you'll be properly punished later, get up and follow me. He shouted angrily while Razor was carried off so he could heal properly. Thanks for watching this video. Part 1 is over. If you really enjoy this video, like, subscribe, and comment down below, and turn on that bell notification. Don't forget to support the EmperorNox for writing that awesome fanfic. See you in the next video. Goodbye.